because I do 1,300 crunches and sit-ups 4 times a week.
What's a dose? Can you translate for us?
Winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Ernie Els.
Welcome back to the Go Track, everybody, the podcast about golf and golf adjacent stuff, mostly from Africa. We are running a little 3-ball this evening, joined by my regular co-host. Good evening, JDV.
How's the teabag?
And making a return back to the guest chair, SA Sports Ninja and qualified golf nuts, Ben Karpinski. Good evening, Ben.
How's it, guys? Yeah, lucky to be back here, Terence.
Yeah, nice to have you back, Ben. I think last time we were talking about your trip to Scotland, which got me feeling very teary about sitting on my arse here in South Africa. But yeah, nice to have you back in the chair again.
Yeah, so that means that I can go less than a year before coming back on, which is a trend that I want to keep up. You know, if I can get an annual performance here, I'll be happy.
Well, looking forward to also seeing you in the not too distant future for some golf, which is on the horizon. But we can touch on that maybe towards the end of the show.
Absolutely.
Guys, we wrapped up the SA Open last weekend in Stellenbosch, and by all accounts, it was one of the best SA Opens that we've had in the last few years. I was actually listening to the podcast that Eddie Pepperell does with. I think it's called the Chipping Forecast. You know, Eddie obviously was playing in the SA Open and he spoke highly of his experience. He thought it was the best one that we'd had since Rory had come out. I was on site and at the tournament. I must say it exceeded my expectations. I wasn't 100% sure how it was going to go, but thoroughly enjoyed it. Before we get into sort of the players and the results and that, what were your guys' opinions on it watching from home?
Guys, I'll go first. Yeah, I heard so many good things about it. Obviously, Terence, guys like you in particular being there. I thought TV-wise, very average golf course, did not look great. There's only so much you can try and flog that mountain here. And like the one hole that's got vineyards, it's not a great TV course. So that'll be my only thing that I can be quite strident on. Otherwise, yeah, crowds were enjoying it. Oaks were keen. The golf was pretty exciting. It's just like the holes aren't memorable. So a guy's making a run, but he's making a run on a course that you're playing a golf day on and hopefully going to win a meat prize at the end. So that was my sort of gut feeling. But yeah, I mean, look, it's a Open. I'm hugely behind my National Open. Very supportive. It's just, I think we're quite conditioned to see events this big at quite fancy places. And maybe I'm just the old aesthetic sort of old geezer who just wants to see things in a certain way. But, you know, I can always change. I can always adapt. All in all, decent tournament.
Yeah, I think Ben, you took the words out of my mouth. I was about to say the sectional title in the background of some of the shots and like cars driving past in the background and like industrial fencing, you know, splitting some of the holes was a bit of a tough look. I think what did show out well on TV was the crowds. It was obviously a good turnout, even with some inclement weather. You know, I think it did need the weather, to be honest, to sort of contain some of the scoring. I think it could have been an absolute turkey shoot if the conditions had been like mint, which we had always called for. And as you say, you know, you're having a tournament in the Winelands, you're always going to have the nice vistas and you know, the mountains in the background and the vineyards like Ben mentioned. But we called it before. We said, is Stellenbosch an SA Open level course? I do think that it might have been. Remember we said, you know, I was listening to the episode 16 where we were talking about SA Open, and I feel like in the last 3 years, the SA Open has seriously picked up in stature to the extent that, you know, I think it's starting to now contend with Nedbank to a degree, where it's sitting in the calendar and the DP World Tour. You know, the amount of interest that it's generating as a national Open, and I think the crowds are starting to show that as well. I'd almost say that there was certainly like more of a crowd atmosphere there than there was this year at the Nedbank from the crowds around the greens, etc. It looked like it's almost like the tide is shifting, which I think is good. I think having the SA Open, you know, being the second oldest Open in the world, it does demand, you know, that sort of respect. again, I think the golf course maybe didn't match that, but the conditions helped to helped with that. So yeah, I was bullish on the SA Open as a product. I'm interested to see, because I know, Terence, you were quite glowing having been at Stellenbosch. I think, when we get into it about the Rota, to see whether either of you or both of you would still be putting Stellenbosch into the conversation as a Rota discussion, having just seen what the turnout is there in terms of, like, is that one of the aspects that you would amplify?
It's such a great point that you guys bring up around the how it looks on TV and the TV product, because obviously I was on site, but I actually watched quite a bit of it on TV while I was there, because I sat, the media center was really cool. It was on like the second floor of the clubhouse, so you actually looked over, like you could watch guys teeing off the first, you could watch guys on the putting green, you could even watch the guys hitting their approaches on the 18th, and then obviously there was a huge like projector screen in the media center. So I watched quite a lot of it on TV, and I had similar feelings actually looking at it on TV. I was like, looking at some of the camera angles, I was like, man, I wish they just got a bit more of those mountains in the background, because we're getting a bit too much of that sort of like ugly clubhouse. Look, the course itself there's only so much they could do to dress that golf course up. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a bit of a scratchy parkland course. And I think, Ben, coming from Joburg, you might even be slightly offended if we called that a parkland course.
Yeah.
Because parts of it it's really rough around the edges. And they definitely put a huge amount of water down on that course. Look, obviously the Western Cape has been through a significant drought, and I think that was pretty evident. JDV, we got a lot of videos from the guys in the pro doing the old dropping the ball into the rough. But what was very clear was that those were quite selective drops, because that rough was hugely variable. I mean, and I'd be interested. I did chat to one or two of the pros, and they were saying, you can hit just off the fairway and you can be in 30 centimeters of rough, and 2 meters further off the fairway to the right, it's absolutely fine. It's like kukui, it'll be like your lawn at home. And that's just due to them having, trying to water the rough, trying to get it to grow up in different places. Look, the greens, I thought, by all accounts, everyone I spoke to, some of the members and that, they said that this is as good as those they could have ever got, those greens. And I didn't hear any complaints from the pros on the greens. They seem to be rolling very nicely. But again, like not the most beautiful set of greens either, right? It's just very pretty bang average, old school, oval. Almost every green looked like the next one. There are very few, and I think this goes to your point, Ben, around standout holes. Somebody asked me on Sunday, like, what were my standout holes, and I honestly really struggled to even having walked the course for 2 days. I was like, it's really tough. There's not a lot that grabs your eye. I'd probably go to like the 7th and the 8th, and then maybe the 10th hole. That little stretch is quite nice. That sort of bends around the clubhouse. Nice par 3, and then the 8th, I think, is more or less their signature hole. JDV, that was the hole that I sent you that Oscar-winning cinematography shot on, with the vineyards down below and the mountains in the background. But I think that they got as much out of that at course as they could have. But having said all of that, it was the best golf tournament that I've been to in South Africa. It's better than any of the Nedbanks that I've been to, and I think that comes down to just how almost like compact the whole experience was. An old school golf course. You had the entertainment village was right in the middle, so they stuck that on the driving range in the middle. And you could more or less pop in there, grab a beer or whatever and go straight out, and you could choose any number of holes to quickly go and visit. Now, you guys both know, having been to the Nedbank several times, it's not really something you can do very well at the Nedbank. You've got to go for a bit of a hike at the Nedbank. I think, 16, the 16th, 11th holes, 10th holes at the Nedbank, you can kind of do that. You can pop around to a few holes, but it's pretty hot out there, and it's a little bit of a hike. And then Ben, I don't know if you went to any of the SA Opens at Blair Athol. Bit of a hike walking around Blair Athol as well.
Yeah.
So having that very compact experience, and having a lot of fans, and I'll get onto the crowds now, but that sort of combination together with a pretty good field. I mean, let's be honest, there was a really good show out from South Africa, the South African players. Yeah, and a couple of interesting foreign players as well. So it's quite hard because I think they squeezed as much as they could out of that golf course. But beyond the course, beyond the architecture of the course, I think the venue was actually like a real success.
Well, Terence, I think then to like really bring it down, what is it that makes a great tournament though? So, again, because we watch TV and we watch the PGA Tour and all that kind of stuff where they got bajillions of budgets and the course looks amazing, we have a certain idea. But when it comes down to it, South Africans, golf fans, call it what you will, human beings, they love a bit of a jol, they don't want to work too hard for it, and they want to be surrounded with a bit of chaos. Now, if we can do that with Stellenbosch, okay, again, it goes back to location. If we don't need an amazing golf course to have an amazing tournament, suddenly this tournament can go to a lot more places. Whereas in the past, it had to be at the prestigious places. I think all those points you make out there, it's like people like going to stadiums, right? The cricket's great. Like the best cricket stadium probably in the country is Centurion because distance to beer to back to your seat is the smallest of anywhere in the country. And you feel like you're part of something. So Blair, I thought was a great example that you made. It's a great venue. It's a great golf course. It's a great location, but it's very sprawled out, just like if you were to have it at Ehrenvale. There's big courses out there that look great on TV and they're great golf courses, but you might not see someone for like 5 minutes. And like then you thought, I'm just here. And when there's no vibe at something, and people are starting to expect vibe at golf. I think this is where Live is doing so well, is that they're focusing entertainment and golf at the same time. So Stellenbosch has the ability of proximity to the fun. And even though that golf course, the more you talk about it, the more I'm trying to think how bad it actually was from my perspective. It's just like you've got to nail those things. And ultimately, Investec or anyone else, when they look at those crowds, they're going to go, yeah, this is worth our money. You take it to, say, the links at Fancourt, which is beautiful, world-class, amazing. Golfers will gush about it. But then you don't have much of a vibe. So then the sponsor goes, okay, cool. I can just pay a photographer to take photos with our branding. People want vibes. They want experiences. And, I just think this is such a great example of what golf should be going forward and how I think we need to adapt how we think about things. I personally don't want to see it at Stellenbosch again. But at the same time, I love live golf experiences. So now I'm caught between the two things. And ultimately, the live golf experience you just described there is actually the more important thing.
But that's the point. So I mean, what is the priority then if you're looking at an SA Open golf course? Is the priority great architecture, the history of the golf course, the setting, how it's going to show on TV, or is it the experience? Is it being able to have international audiences look at it with just packed crowds and the chaos around it? Is because I do think that changes the complexion of, okay, well, which are the courses that you're going to go to? As you said, Ben, I mean, Fancourt Links is the obvious, like, poster child of one of the most beautiful courses in South Africa, but probably not going to generate that sort of the crowd and the chaos that you probably saw at Stellenbosch. It's a super interesting question. I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, are we going into the era of like live golf, where you want to see, or like the Waste Management Open, where you want to see the crowd, see the beers flowing, see the chaos, and in which case, the course is secondary to that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about I don't even know what that course is called. What is that? Is it the Phoenix Country Club? I don't even know what it's called.
That's a good question.
But this is just it, right? So it's like, sorry, I just lost my train of thought and trying to think what the Phoenix golf course is actually
to be honest with you, that Phoenix course is pretty cool though. Like,
yeah,
it always dishes up a pretty interesting result, like an interesting competition. Put it that way. It's got some spice in the end there. Yeah.
True. Yeah, it's a very cool kind of thing to look at and go, okay, well, it is about that live experience. And yeah, guys, there is no definitive answer in this. I think it's just about understanding where golf has to go. And it's a really cool thing to kind of put our minds to. I mean, if this is what you got time for, Terence, because you could look at a golf club, like, say, for example, Hermanus is beautiful. What if we made like a composite 18 holes of Hermanus to be on the SA Open Rota? It'd be absolutely great. But then who's going there? Who's going to be there the whole time? Stellenbosch, it's got students. Students like to get hammered and go outside. There's so much more, I think, to focus on the SA Open now with, and it's kind of changing how I'm looking at these things. Like this week, Joburg Open, obviously at Houghton. People are already excited about that because now there's FOMO, right? They saw guys in Cape Town have a jaw at the golf. So now, again, Houghton is not a top 10 golf course in this country. I still think it's very good. I think it's a great TV course, but it's got a great infrastructure. You got great proximity to holes, fan areas, and suddenly that's just got way more currency on these things.
I really do think there's a balance to be struck though between the event in terms of the crowds and the quality of the golf course. Because to be honest with you, I wouldn't want to see us go any lower than and I really sound like I'm having shots at Stellenbosch here, but like it was honestly absolutely fine. It turned into they lengthened the course. It turned into a great finish, which I think really helped. Probably was the only thing that was kind of going for the TV product. A local winner, like young golfer. I mean, we can get into that now as well. But but goodness me, like there were parts of it that where you walked around and you were like, my word, Jacques, like we could really film like videos of the GO track here, and people would be asking like where we were because it's very scratchy in places, and it doesn't have a lot of, as I say, there's not a lot of difficulty about that golf course. It's pretty much in front of the guys, and they had to trick up the rough a little bit in places here. So yeah. I would want to see a balance between the difficult thing is in this country is that I think the only two places where we really have is that Johannesburg and you could probably argue one course in Durban and one course. Well, we could get into the courses now, but I think it's very difficult to strike that balance between Gees and good course.
I just remember what I was going to say until I had like fuzzy brain. So again, going back to like, what is the point of the SA Open? So back in the day, it was sponsored by SAA, right? So everyone thought this is so good for tourism. We're showing our best golf courses. Foreigners who are in their cucky winter watching this and going, I really want a golf trip to South Africa. So then you look at it and go, okay, which golf courses are going to get foreigners onto planes? But also, when you think about it, we've got the Dunhill at Leopard Creek. Doesn't get more picturesque than that. We've got the Nedbank and Gary Player, also major aspirational tourism aspect. And then, Joburg Open looks great on TV. So maybe we've got enough for the whole tourism hook. Maybe we can make the SA Open a flat-out jaw because Live Golf at Stain City is also going to do an amazing TV package thing for us. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe the the SA Open is now going to become like the people's tournament. Maybe that's actually the major takeout.
I'm there for that. Tell me, Ben, Rand Park. I don't know much about Rand Park. Now we know that there've been a couple of SA Opens there.
JDV, can I just ask you? Can I just tie a bow on Stellenbosch because I just got a couple more notes, and then
empty the notes
because I know what we like. Once we start talking about other golf courses, like that's a deep hole, and we're not coming out of that. So just to tie a bow on it, I just had some notes here. Like guys, the crowds. Honestly, like my if I had to give you a crowd rating, I would honestly give it like 9.5 or 10 out of 10. Like you said it, Ben, I think you underestimate the impact that like students have, and having a town like Stellenbosch, obviously packed with students. There were loads of students at the course, and honestly brought such a fun vibe to the tournaments. I mean, obviously there were loads of guys who I don't think ever left like the fan village. They were just watching golf on the big screen and smashing their brandies. But then there was a mixed bag as well. There was also lots of trust fund money walking around, lots of Investec bank fees being paid. So like a really good mix of people. Quite a few foreign accents, guys. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard as much German in my life at a golf tournament. So there were quite a few of the Germans walking around.
That's like the fourth language of Cape Town, though. Pretty sure there's German signs in the Home Affairs there nowadays.
I don't think those German players on the DP World Tour have ever felt like they're having such a home game, besides maybe the BMW when they play in Stuttgart or wherever it is. And then I just had to say this, JDV, because when we were at the $1 Million last time, we spoke about just the general fashion that we saw out there, and I think we were a bit underwhelmed by the fashion.
Are we talking about the players or the spectators? Yeah,
the spectators. I'm not sure if you remember this conversation. This was after sunset in the campsites. You were a few bottles down. But there was a really good mix of I was well impressed with the fashion of fans. There was a lot of females there. It just felt like people weren't coming to try and be reserve golfers. The guys, a lot of people didn't have their golf shoes on and their golf shirts, which I appreciate.
Golf glove in the back pockets, just in case.
It's like people were going to Kirstenbosch to listen to the music, or they were going to have a picnic in their park. There was a lot of good, interesting fashion going on there.
Were there any cock shirts that you saw after?
JDV, I didn't see any shirts with multiple cocks on.
I'm disappointed.
If I had, I probably would have taken a photo of one and sent it to you. And then just lastly, I don't know if it came through on the TV, but sort of when when they had that lightning delay and Jarvis and then were stuck on the tee box, they put a big sign up on the scoreboard, basically telling the fans that they had to evacuate the stands because there was dangerous weather around. And you can imagine how well that went down with the students. Well, essentially nobody left the stands, and it started singing instead. And they started getting a whole bunch of chants going, but one of them was he's in your head, Casey. I mean, it was good stuff, guys. I mean, it was a lot better than anything I've heard at a golf tournament. So it was thoroughly enjoyable.
That's great. I really think that we may have concluded that this is what the SA Open should be now. It must be the spirit of golf. Other tournaments can tick off aesthetics and travel and prestige. SA Open should be a draw.
T, I think what we need to do now is look at where all the biggest varsity student populations are and look at what the best rated golf courses in the area. So, I mean, the Belmont, you're in with a shot. Now, Rhodes University students.
But I don't think the Belmont can take those crowds, but... well, look, maybe this is a good segue. I did want to speak a little bit about Casey Jarvis and about how JDV, he's been our golden boy since we saw him as an amateur. And you and I have been talking him up for a couple of years, probably me more than you. But it did really feel like his coming out party these last 2 weeks. And I think a really interesting note that I had, just one note, was asking people on Sunday morning, people asking each other, who do you think is going to win? He only had a one-shot lead. I reckon 95% of the people were like, Casey, there's no ways he's not giving this up. Like, just people who seem to be in the know were like, this guy, when he gets a sniff, he's deadly. And it's a pretty cool trait to have. And having a young South African golfer like that and a guy like Jaden Shaper, two young guys who now seem to have found their feet and have got the confidence of winning. I mean, it's pretty exciting as South African golf fans.
He's got a weird swing. I mean, it's not like a conventional, it's a beautiful swing. He really pulls the chain, all the sort of instructors are like, pull the chain when you come down, and he really pulls into it. And look, I mean, that top, was it a top? I mean, that little stinger he hit on 16 where he said someone laughed in his backswing and
on
still
18.
managed to get it done. Sorry, on 18, and still managed to get it done.
Pretty much tops it, yeah.
I mean, back to back. He said he was nervous. It's really is. Henny du Plessis also, you said he had a lot of support out there, and you mentioned that you thought he might have had more of a crowd support than Casey Jarvis at one stage.
Yeah, there was a lot of support for Henny out there, particularly in the sort of middle of that back nine. Look, people were supporting Casey for sure, but Henny was getting a lot of love out there. It was great having two South Africans. I mean, I was just so glad that it didn't come to that someone like Laporta or that didn't come and completely rain on the parade, because it was a great festival type atmosphere out on that back nine, and I was very stoked that one of them pulled through and won it. It was properly entertaining. And when did they have lightning in Cape Town? I think I lived there for 6 years. Hardly ever remember seeing lightning. And the poor guy got it on the 18th
maybe twice, huh?
Yeah,
guys, I don't know a lot about Casey Jarvis personally, but he's got a Scotty Scheffler kind of vibe about him. I know this is a massive reach, but he's got that sort of unconventional, but just really doesn't care. Yeah. And he seems to have this forward gear, which is just, it's so cool. You think Scotty developed relatively late, as far as he wasn't a Jordan Spieth kind of guy. And Casey Jarvis has some similar kind of energy around that. I think the hardest thing with our prodigies that come through, it's if you are a Jordan Spieth or you're a major deal in America, you go straight to the PGA Tour, you're playing against the best quite quickly. Talent can latch onto something huge and get slingshotted into the stratosphere. Whereas here, the Oak has got to fucking hack up to Kenya. He's coming back here. It's not easy going, okay? So I think, guys, it's harder to get that breakout streak and really make it happen. Jaden Shaper, right? Look what he ended the year. Now, if you have a streak like that and you're playing Bay Hill the 1 week and then it's the Players or whatever, there's a string of 5 or 6 tournaments that the guys can really get hot on and make a name for themselves. Our Oaks, because of the co-sanctioning and stuff, they get this tiny little window. And sometimes I feel it's a bit harsh. So I would just love to know what he can do with a streak like this, what he can do with belief like this. Does he have enough events to really throw it at? Because obviously it's hard to maintain this stuff. We all know once you won a tournament, your energy levels are going to be sapped going to the next one. Extra media requirements. There's the emotion of a Sunday where you got to be all in mentally. So I'm not saying the guy's going to be on a tear now forever, but I just sometimes hope that, or often think are our guys actually slighted that they don't have enough big games to really really cut their teeth and really get their this sort of mojo on for bigger things?
I think maybe the other aspect is you don't really, because of the stronger fields in the PGA, Casey might not have had the opportunity to get that win, the 2 wins. I think that's a huge learning experience for him too, to be coming down the straight and clinching too. Now when he is in those situations, and be it the DP World Tour or the PGA Tour in future, he's done it before. He's been in that winning position and he's won it. So certainly I agree with you that if they hit that purple patch in the PGA Tour or in the the bigger sort of DP World Tour events, they make a bigger name. But I also think it's maybe more difficult, because even if some of those players hit that purple patch in those tours, they may be making a top 10. Whereas at least now they've climbed that rung in the ladder to say, okay, well, I know how to win in these big moments.
And also playing under that pressure. Hey, I mean, there was a lot of expectation on him on Sunday, and a lot of people following that final group, and to come through that and deal with the ups and downs. And look, he had a cracking start on Sunday, which really I think helped, because he's definitely a momentum player, Casey. There's no doubt about it. But to deal with that, a bit of adversity on the 18th and that, I think it's going to stand him in great stead. I think, obviously, for him and Jaden Shaper, we want to see that first win, I guess, outside of Africa, so, on the continent somewhere. But, I mean, I think what you got to remember, Casey Jarvis is 22. I mean,
he's 22. I'm actually Googling that as you speak. He's 22.
I mean, JDV, we've been doing this podcast for 3 years almost, or 2.5, I think. And the first time we saw him, he was 18 years old playing as an amateur in the SA Open. So it feels like he should be much older, but he's 22. I mean, so to have basically a 1.5 years experience now on the DP World Tour, and now to have 2 wins, it's exciting. I mean, I think I'm as excited about our young golfers as I've probably been since we started this podcast, because I think the guys we were excited about when we first started this are probably still the same people. So I just wanted to mention a couple of other players. I followed Eddie Pepperell for 6 holes. It was really fun to see him playing well again. Hayden Porteous, completely back from the wilderness. I think he had a top 10. Disappointing weekend from the from the Southern Guards guys, nearly said Stingers, Brandon Grayson and Dean Burmester, they properly fizzled out on the weekend. So that was disappointing. And then just wanted to pin a note on this one for you, JDV. I'm sure you remember that you and I basically invented Marco Penge when we saw him at Glendower 2 years ago. And I said to you, JDV, you got to come and watch this guy hit a golf ball. It's unbelievable. Well, my next guy on that list is the young Spaniard, Angel Ayora. I don't know if you saw him playing. Young Spaniard, sort of quite longish black hair. Holy shit. You must see this guy hit a golf ball. Ben, I'm sure he must be playing this weekend in Joburg.
I really hope so. I mean,
do yourself a favor and go find him.
Either can walk onto the first tee with 187 mile an hour ball speed at the coast. I mean, that's quite something. Like, there's a real ability with that guy there. He's great. I mean, I watched him on TV, obviously, but definitely looking out for him. I really hope he's at the Joburg Open.
Yeah. So the no laying up oaks, T, to go back to your point about young golfers, you know, they're very America centric, and they even had to admit that they were talking about, well, what's the next crop of young players coming through? And I think it was TCU was saying it's actually South Africans, Australians, and Spanish golfers are the next crop of young golfers that are coming through. It's not necessarily the Americans anymore. And I thought that was a pretty good point, because if you do look at like the youngsters who are doing it, I mean, even if you look at Aldrich Potgieter on the, you know, Garrick Higo and maybe some of those guys, maybe Garrick Higo not so much, but Aldrich certainly, you know, the youngsters are not necessarily the Americans anymore, which makes it, which is quite lekker. You know, it's been a pretty American dominant, you know, youngster scene, if I can put it that way, for a while, and it's good to see the Spaniards, Australians, and South Africans coming through.
Okay, guys. So JDV, we did do this SA Open Rota chats in I think it was, as you said, episode 16. It was a long time ago. And Ben, basically at that time, what we were saying is, I think we were just coming off the last one at Blair Athol, and we were really kind of getting a bit disillusioned by the SA Open and sort of wanting to have the discussion around, you know, this Rota and getting it set up. And obviously just after the powers that be obviously listened to our podcast, and then they announced Durban Country Club as the next venue. And then we thought, here we go, we're going to get a proper Rota going. And so in that podcast, we sort of discussed what our sort of 5 courses kind of on a South African Rota would be. So maybe moving into the course side now, I'll start by asking you, where would you take the SA Open around the country with a blank canvas, based on what we've discussed now?
I think first and foremost, I would like there to be a Rota, just so that we can talk about a Rota. It sounds fancy. Yeah. It sounds like we've really got our stuff together here. It sounds like
especially if we're the second oldest.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we're a proper golfing country. You have a blue plaque on the clubhouse wall or something like that. Like, let's really make a thing of it. And then I think, if we have a Rota like that, let's make it a really obscure number. Let's go with 8. And then maybe we can have like a special sort of like budget or sponsor that comes together, and those courses work on themselves to be really great SA Open venues. So just to kind of like, I had some original, like initial sort of thoughts around this. You would think that the links is going to be SA Rota because it's a proper links. I think when Retief won there, however long ago it was, like that was a good SA Open. Like it was a really big deal. It felt like a big deal. Blair Athol has got amazing credentials to be this golf course. Pearl Valley, as you know, it's truly spectacular golf course. Mountain views. That new Asian owner wants this thing to be like a 7-star resort. Incredible. You can't look away from Glendower as just being like a pillar of the SA golfing tapestry. A Durban Country Club is, if it doesn't rain, if you can just not turn the taps on. Humewood, you know, are only real proper links. It's got to be there because of heritage. And then Royal Johannesburg East. But then to go kind of further, those are your sort of like immaculate, beautiful top playing golf courses. East London, people would say, should be in the mix as well. But as soon as you start getting into stuff like this, you start thinking of logistics. East London's a bit of a toilet. It's not great. I know there's parts of it that are really nice, especially parts around the golf course, but it's not a great metropolis. I don't think we're going to get good crowds. I just don't think it's a good place to have a huge international tournament, because we want this thing to be a huge international tournament. So, is George Golf Course going to have a similar appeal to like a Stellenbosch, where it's an old classic golf course, but then are you going to get the crowds? So I think it's quite interesting how, as you've mentioned, since it got back to Durban Country Club and what you guys were saying on the back of Blair Athol, I think it's really evolving in how we look at this, because after our chat right now, I got to tell you, Blair Athol is off the list for me because it's just too big. For me, like Pearl Valley is great, but it's just another estate course where the logistics are going to be a little bit different and it's not quite the vibe. But then you look at the other sort of side of the spectrum is, okay, well then what other Stellenbosches do we have? And the answer is not really any. Royal Cape for me is a very boring golf course and it's next to a highway. I mean, it's basically Royal Ottery in my mind. It's not a great area. It really isn't. I know it's the oldest golf course. I've written articles about history and all that kind of stuff. Zero appeal for me. De Salza is, again, the estate issue, which is not great for the tournament. Do we then look at a place like Pretoria Country Club, which is a fantastic golf course and home for the current bar golf challenges that Robbie Cruz and I are putting out? But it's also very short, so it'll be a par 7. Will that attract students in Pretoria? Sure, why not? I think it's a beautiful, beautiful destination golf course, that. And then, as much as I love Royal East, it's my home course. I love that place, really do. I think them and Glendower, I don't know if they are actually like going forward, Glendower especially. I think so much has happened there. And again, it's next to a highway. Take it or leave it. So sadly, this Rota idea, it's falling a little skinny, guys, I must say. I've thought about this long and hard. It's quite skinny. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a couple of great ones and then a couple of ones that we have because we feel like we just have to have them there. Like for me, Glendower, I don't need to see another golf tournament at Glendower. The Sunshine Tour goes there all the time. I don't think it's particularly interesting. It's fun to play. It's great value for money. Conditioning, it's a real purist dream. It's just, unless you've got a guy like Rory going to Glendower, might not go. So, and that was my whole final point about this whole Rota thing, is that it's a lovely base for a conversation. But if the SA Open's going to guarantee a Masters ticket every year, a ticket to the Open every year, suddenly people care. Like, that's a major draw card. If you can get a Patrick Reed-ish person every single year with the occasional Rory, okay, I think that horse is bolted though. But if we can get a big star like that, you can take these things kind of anywhere. I think the crowds will follow. Maybe not East London. I was hoping I'd be a lot more succinct about that, but I think that's pretty much my take on the Rota. The more I get into it, the less I know.
But Ben, maybe the answer is to not try and have the Stellenbosch SA Open every year. So maybe the answer is to say, okay, guys, we are going to showcase the best courses that we have in South Africa, but we're going to try and mix it up in a way that we still take this basically to the fans as much as possible. So maybe we do the links one year, but then we follow that up. We follow that up with a course in Johannesburg, and honestly, you know those courses better than I do. I don't, whichever one can host the most fans. We followed up with that one where you get a big village and you get a lot. You promote the hell out of it. You get a lot of people there, and you create that festival kind of vibe. The smaller towns. I think JDV Durban Country Club for me might fall into more of the less of a huge party open, but more of this is a very high quality golf course as long as they get their Sangoma there on time.
Stop the rain.
We're not sure whether they have or haven't got the Sangoma yet.
Clear the stormwater drains on the NMR.
But let's assume they do pay for the Sangoma then and they get rid of the rain, then then that would be more of your classical, this is a beautiful product on TV, and then we take it, do we take it back to Stellenbosch? I know a lot of people would say yes on the ground. I'm kind of 50-50 on that. I think you just touched on something important, which is overlooked a bit, that there is a master's berth, there is a master's place for up for grabs here. And do you want to be playing on a Muni type golf course for a master's place? I think we want to be careful that we don't get sort of ridiculed for that. I think the world is watching, and you do want to be showcasing your best courses. So where I'm going is I'm saying let's try a little bit of both. Let's try mix it up a little bit. Let's go to the links. Let's go to Durban Country Club. But let's also go. I'm going to say it. Let's go back to Stellenbosch, and let's go to where it is, Rand Park, or the fun. Tell me a bit about Pretoria Country Club. Do you think it couldn't host one?
Okay, so you know what? I reckon. So let's do this. Let's do a Rota of 6, which is called the South African Open Compromise. We got the links and we got Pearl Valley because they are showstopper courses. They are great, and players will love to go there. It looks really great. And then we got DCC. Obviously, it's great, but the thing is, it's just like it's always going to be in Feb, right? So that's my only sort of asterisk next to that. Let's go to Humewood, and then from there, so we've covered those 4 where we know we've got quality and diversity, and then 5 and 6 we go Stellenbosch. Okay, let's make it 7. Stellenbosch, Pretoria Country Club, and Royal Johannesburg East. I think the magnificent 7. I think it all comes together for that.
Let's just get. I just need to get this again. So Humewood, DCC, Pearl Valley.
Yeah, Humewood, DCC, the links, Pearl Valley. There's 4.
Yeah, okay.
Absolute no-brainers. You'd love to go there. Then I reckon toss it between Glendower out of respect for what they've done and Royal East, which is a better golf course and on TV, and it's just a better location. So let's give it the edge. So do you not think
you can have both, Ben? You can't have Royal J&K East and Glendower.
Yeah, but then we go into 8, and after every 8 years, you got to have something that goes in a rota, so you can't not have it at a place for 7 years. Although, I mean, that's how the US Open works as well. Okay, you know what? Out of respect for Glendower, what it's done for this country, if it can stay financially afloat, let's make it 8. Glendower and Royal East go in because sometimes you just got to have a good Joburg event. And then Pretoria Country Club, I don't care if you got to make it a par 69. I don't care if guys are going to be driving greens. Although some of those par 4s just are, they're just too short. So it might not be able to cut it, but it has had events before. It's just that it's in Pretoria. We've now got the Swan Open fell away a long time ago. That's correct me if I'm wrong here.
They had a like a pairs. The Sunshine Tour were playing like a pairs competition at Pretoria Country Club the last couple of years. One of their events was.
It's doable. Okay, so we're down to 8, right? So PCC I think should go in there for diversity and the fact that it's just a cool place. And we can maybe tap it. It's like a fancy Stellenbosch, right? It's like a junior Royal East. It's like somewhere between Royal East and Stellenbosch. But the conditioning and stuff is great. I spent quite a lot of time there recently. That's why I feel quite passionate about this. So then we got, okay, so from the bottom, Stellenbosch, obvious reasons, Pretoria Country Club, Royal East, Glendower, Humewood, Durban Country Club, Pearl Valley, and the links. I would, as a South African, feel massively proud if that's our 8 rota.
So we've thrown steadies in there because of how it sort of turned out in this SA Open. Dale Hayes mentioned in that last one, and bear me out here because I don't think it's a bad shout. Number 85 in the top 100, Bloemfontein Country Club. Just from if we're talking about getting Gees, you know, again, it's not a particular. I haven't actually played Bloem Country Club, Ben. I don't know if you've played Bloem. T, have you played Bloem?
I have, yeah.
So I mean, look, it's not from the yellow tees. What's it? 6,693 par 72. It's not the longest course in the world, but you know, if we're talking about somewhere that's going to have it every 8 years. And you want to have a big crowd and guys drinking lots of brandy and cokes and gearsing it up. And also, actually, there's a ton of students in Bloem as well. I mean, if we are going to open it up to the steadies...
I've got to ask a separate question. Is Dale knocking up houses on the side here? Is Bloem about to become a housing estate? Because I think that's a terrible idea.
Well, wait till his second idea was that you've got to have the men's SA Open and the ladies' SA Open at the same time. In courses that have 2 courses. So what was some of them were?
Yes, at Royal, at Joburg, and at Mount Edgecombe.
Look, I gave that some more thought when I listened to it. I was like, now you splitting the crowds, and I don't know if Mount Edgecombe, the Lakes, is going to be having an SA.
That's not going to work. I love the sort of the I love the spirit of Dale's suggestions when he sent us that voice notes. Bloem was definitely a curveball. I love the spirit of it. Obviously, the places he's played, but realistically, I don't even think you would get great crowds there, to be honest, JDV.
Yeah, well, it's a housing estate.
I absolutely love the spirit of Dale in general, but I just feel like he's on heavy spirits if he thinks that those ideas will ever pass water. Like guys, Bloemfontein's great if you are in Bloem. and you have a day to spare and you just happen to have golf clubs in your boot. I played it because I was commuting down. I drove a car down for someone to Cape Town once, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this and I'll play Bloem. A couple of decent holes. There's a bar that's definitely seen some jewels back in the day, but it's, you might as well dress Kimberley Golf Club up.
It's kind of what people would say about Stellenbosch before, when we heard Stellenbosch was hosting it, we were like, okay, I'm trying to remember a hole there. I think I remembered one hole that I played there, and I was like, it's got a really nice bar though.
It's still Stellenbosch.
It's Stellenbosch, yeah. It's not
Terence killed me, and I was listening back on it, and Terence, firstly, you hadn't played this course, and I hadn't played it in 9 years, and since then we've both played it again. I want to and also get Ben's take on this. Arabella?
Some really great holes, and then basically just some pieces of grass in between houses. I haven't played there enough recently, but look, it's a good estate course. There's some absolutely breathtaking holes. But if we're going to go there, I'd rather do the Hermanus Composite.
Yes. Okay. So again, I think that goes to the point of if we're going to put it out sort of difficult to get to place, then there's better courses to go to for an SA Open that are difficult to get to. Otherwise, okay, so basically then we're stuck in the metros.
I think we have to be, unfortunately.
So. Yeah. I think we have to be.
We're stuck in the metros with the occasional showstopper of being the Links and Pearl Valley, which is kind of more essentially out there.
So maybe I can tell you a little bit. I asked about where the next SA Open was going to be. I asked a few people that I could, and there was no definitive answer. It obviously hasn't been decided. But one of the answers that was given was that they were very impressed with the ticket sales in Stellenbosch, and which honestly got me a little bit concerned that they were considering doing a repeat at Stellenbosch, because I think that would defeat the whole point of what we're trying to do here. I think we need to get these places hungry for it. And then the second interesting note that we had was that they were waiting to see if Live Golf were going to do another year at Steyn City in Johannesburg. And they were trying to decide whether it would be beneficial for them to do the SA Open a few weeks before in the same city, or whether that would be detrimental to the SA Open. Now, I'm not sure which way around they were looking at it, but in my opinion, I think Live Golf is going to be hugely beneficial to the SA Open. In fact, I think at Live Golf, there's going to be loads of people who've never, ever been to a golf tournament before in their lives. Yep. And I think if you took it to Johannesburg next year, I actually think it would be a net benefit, because I think people would be like, hey, remember that tournament we went to? We had a lot of fun. It was a golf tournament. Let's go to this one. I can't see why they should be concerned about that, about competing with Live like a few weeks apart. I don't get this.
Look, guys, I just made a video on YouTube now about how golf actually needs Live, but it's a very bitter pill to swallow for a lot of people. Very different conversation for another time. But on the whole Stellenbosch thing, I do not want to rain on Stellenbosch's parade of being this newfound jewel course, but I think there's a major halo effect that they are just basically also benefiting from. You spoke there about people chanting and cheering in the stadiums. That's a rugby halo. That's not I love SA Open all of a sudden. People like to jewel. South Africans, as we said from the start, they like to jewel. There's a massive halo effect of people looking at Live Golf Adelaide and upcoming events like Live Golf South Africa and going, you know what, golf's a jewel. There's the halo effect of just the fact that golf is suddenly now a lot more interesting, because that real wave of COVID and people playing, that's now gaining momentum for people becoming real fans. So I know people who started playing golf in COVID who are now golf tour people. They go on these things. So there's this wave that's kind of been happening in sport and in golf all around. So I think that, sure, Stellenbosch has all these attributes that are really great, but I think elements of that and the big crowds and the great ticket sales, that will float elsewhere purely on these other halo factors. I'm all for it. Stellenbosch, as I've told you, that can be on the Rota of 8, but I don't think it's going to be like this go-to cash cow secret sauce venue kind of thing. There was the Masters spot up for grabs. There was a lot of hype. People are excited about Live coming to this country. It's a great coincidence that all these things coincided with Stellenbosch as well.
So you're saying it's like a perfect storm, Ben, that Stellenbosch turned out as well as it did? Like a perfect storm in a good way?
Yeah, in a good way. I mean, look, Stellenbosch worked hard for what they got, and I'm not taking anything away from it, but I would say there is a massive halo effect from other things stemming from the Springboks being so damn amazing to South Africans just having a lot of fun right now in sport. SA20, the SA20 campaign during December, January was an absolute joy. People went to those stadiums. They loved being outside. They loved just being with other South Africans. There's a really cool air in the room, so to speak. And I think SA Open got to experience some of that and enjoy it.
Look, and I think they promoted the hell out of that tournament very, very well and very strategically using, rugby players, sports personalities down in the Western Cape, many of which live 5 to 10 Ks from Stellenbosch. And there's obviously a huge amount of money that resides in Stellenbosch. So I think there were a lot of factors that played into their hands. The one thing I will say, obviously, Stellenbosch probably wasn't the most diverse crowd I've ever seen at a sports event for a while. But, the formula that they have there, I think they can use this moving into different locations. The way they promoted it, the way they used sports people from other influencers, sports people from other codes, etc., to get people there to show, guys, this is not like a boring sports event. This is a real festival kind of setup. I see my cameras flashing.
We are just getting better at doing these events. We're getting people who love working on these things. We're getting smarter. We're learning from international showcases and productions. And I think we're finally getting to this point where people are starting to realize that sport is just entertainment. It's not some divine subsect of activities that we do. Sport is entertainment. We are competing against Netflix. You're competing against anything out there that has a subscription fee and your eyeballs and your time. So put that in your marketing mix. Take it. Let's go to Bloemfontein. We could make it work.
Come on, I'm telling you, JDV, you'll go to Bloem for the weekend for the SA Open.
I love Bloem. That's like that place is a sporting. That place is
mecca.
God,
they don't even have a rugby team anymore.
I think guys would show out at a Bloemfontein SA Open. But look, Ben, I can't disagree with your 8. I mean, we sort of said when we did it originally. I mean, there was the only real debate that we had, and I was very interested to hear sort of the Glendower remarks, because coming from KZN and playing Glendower, we sort of in awe of Glendower and where it sits, and maybe not having as the access that we do to play it as often as maybe the guys in Joburg. I love Glendower.
Completely spoiled. Shout whatever name you want at the screen at me. I am completely spoiled as a golfer. I live a very charmed existence, and I will never ever make light of that.
But Pretoria Country Club, I really like that idea. I love the Pretoria Country Club idea, from the student vibe, again, to try and emulate a bit of what happened at Stellies. I think Pretoria is a good call. Yeah, we agreed with, I'm not changing I think I'll pull Arabella from my suggestions. I don't think I'm going to be writing that take too long, but certainly Humour, DCC, Pearl Valley, I'm all here for. Links at Fan Court, Glendower, Royal J&K East, Pretoria Country Club. And are we agreeing that Stellies has done enough now that they earn a spot on that rota just because of the one SA Open? I mean, we were pretty damning about it at the start of this podcast, and now they've solidified their number 8 spot there. Should that not be like a more roaming Bloemfontein Country Club sort of a course?
No, I think we were damning as a certain aspect. I think that we brought up of like what we're used to seeing and what we're used to appreciating in golf. I think the more we spoke, that we got into the intrinsics of what makes it the Stellenbosch SA Open. And to Terrence's point is that we don't have to have that on the rotor with other things. That can just be like the Stellenbosch one. Like when you when you really like a girl, you take her for like nice restaurants and stuff. But every now and again, you take her to a decent Italian restaurant, because it's not a slight, it's not disrespectful, but sometimes you're in for that. It's a nice mix.
Some comfort food.
Just a good, comfortable lasagna. That's what Stellenbosch GC.
Stellenbosch Bolognese GC, exactly, guys. I think this is a really exciting talking point, and all it does is it reminds us how great South African golf is. We have so many courses that we can dress up and make something happen at. We've got so many epicenters of fandom that we can touch into. And another point that we've brought up here is that there's no real like golfing stronghold in this country. We South Africans love to go outside and be amongst each other, and we love sport. The final question I would like to pose to both of you, though, if we are to look at this as like a rota, at the SA Open, at the Open Championship, the rota's there, those courses are amazing, they've all got their thing, but ultimately St Andrews old course is like the home Open, right? Out of our rota, or out of any courses in this country, if you guys were to say, like, what's our home SA Open, what course would you say?
Durban Country Club, every day of the week. But I mean, the reason I'm saying that it's hosted the most SA Opens, it's obviously got a very special place in our heart from KZN. The upgrades or the renovations that they've done there, I think, have taken it to a new level. I feel it hasn't been able to show the world what it has. The fact that the 2 years that it's been on TV, it's been underwater, has not been a great look. I think to the discussions that we've had, what DCC's biggest drawback is the infrastructure that they can put in there. They can't really put a lot of hospitality. They can't really put a lot of stands, and it's quite tricky to get around because it's sort of elongated. It's not one central point and then you sort of move out from there. So that's a major drawback. But I think from a spiritual home, I've got no hesitation to say Durban Country Club should be like the old course.
You're absolutely ticking all of the thoughts that I had. It's like in our rota, like we've called the Stellenbosch year, right? Just like we've called it like the Lynx and Pearl Valley for the flashy years. We have to have a spiritual year in our 8, and Durban Country Club does. There's something about that trophy on the slopes of the old dunes of Durban Country Club with that whole clubhouse thing. There's something that just feels right. It's so right that I feel like we can roll the dice with the weather. I really do.
I think
we've got, but like that's the thing. In our 8, we've got a spiritual home. Yeah, look, I know the infrastructure is terrible, and there's a couple of things, but we've got our spiritual home, just like the old course is. The old course is also a terrible venue. It's too short. It's so antiquated, but it's the spiritual home. So I reckon R8 is just so strong now because we've covered so many different sort of things. And you know what? If the Belmonts can grow into this role, maybe they can push to make it a rota of 10.
They just need to clutch it from Stellies, is called their hands.
I think you've nailed it there with tying a bow on it there nicely, Ben, with having that course touching on the spiritual home. I mean, for me, there's absolutely no doubt that is exactly the correct answer. And as we've said, once they get their spiritual blessings in place with the golfing gods, I'm certain they're not going to have any more water problems. I think DCC isn't as bad as some of the other courses if I compare it to like a Blair Athol, and there's parts of that golf course where there is quite a lot of connectivity, and that's unfortunately it's like quite far down the bottom end. But I think last year they showed that they can host, by using the Kings Park fields and that for driving ranges and all of that. There's quite a bit of space around there that they can make it happen. Ben, you fortunately going to be heading to the spiritual home next week Friday.
Yeah, guys, next week I've got such a special week. Hey, Terence, obviously seeing you driving down to another one of Dale Hayes' fantastic properties. I actually love Dale here. I played golf with his son a couple of weeks ago as part of this whole bar golf challenge that Robbie Cruz and I are starting. Another good mate of mine lives at Swartkorps, which is another Dale Hayes golfing metropolis. So I feel like I've got a spiritual connection with Dale at this stage, and to go to Gary and really just tick it off. I'm doing my own rota, basically, the Dale rota. I'm just going to feel like the Dale rota at some stage. Yeah, I haven't played nearly enough golf in KZN. I feel like from a guy who grew up in Cape Town, I've played a hell of a lot of courses around the country. KZN I've done 2 tours at, but yeah, I know it's like a 5-hour drive. I should do better. And next week is the start of me doing better.
Well, yeah, looking forward to playing with you at Gary when I see you. And the invitation's open anytime to play more golf down here. As you know, we've got this province pretty well covered, particularly JDV, who's played nearly every course in KZN multiple times, I think.
But Ben, I had to ask, I recently saw the Golf Mag come out, and I read your article on the top walking courses. Have you ever walked Umdoni Country Club? Because that is the most ridiculous walk ever. I think you want to. So all the people who can't use the handicap apps, like if they read this article and decide they want to walk Umdoni, they're going to die.
Yeah, but it's one of those courses that you're happier if you do. I just think that sometimes we've got to realize that golf is still a workout.
Absolutely agree with you. I think, again, like I think if there's a fit, like just relatively fit, you can walk Umdoni, but sheepers, I think if someone comes from Joburg and doesn't know what they're in for and decides to walk Umdoni on a humid 30-odd degree day, they are in for a proper walk.
Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes I maybe I have not read the room on that one with a couple of people. But at the same time, I think if you're going to get a golf cart at Umdoni, it's going to sound like one of those old park rides with like a petrol engine.
Also, don't get a caddy at Umdoni. Those oaks are terrible. You know the story that they kick your ball into the hole on the hole the par 3, 10, 11, the 12th, par 3, 12th.
Yes.
You can't see it, and it's like recorded the most hole-in-ones in the whole of South Africa. And then there was like a big scandal a couple of years back because they realized all the caddies were standing on top and kicking Oaks balls into the hole so they could get a better pin.
See, I guess you need to have a golf cart to hurry up and find that out, huh?
You don't need the caddy.
Wow. I mean, I didn't know that. Again,
the catch-22 situation there, JDV, though, is that, as Ben said, most of those golf carts are death traps.
No, they are. And you're not going to go much faster if you walk. If you're taking a cart or walking, we're going the same pace.
And I say this to be stand corrected. If Umdoni's recently got some new golf carts, then I apologize. But Ben, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you for joining us. It was so nice to get your thoughts on. I think it was important to get someone from your neck of the woods and with your golfing knowledge and breadth and depth of all the courses in the country. Thanks for setting aside some time for us. Look forward to playing with you and seeing you next week.
Yeah,
JDV?
guys, I mean, this is something about, your podcasts and like your groups of friends and these kind of things is that we have some of the best conversations at our disposal as golfers in this country. It's a beautiful thing. And I always genuinely love it. I could chat golf with guys like you forever. And the conversations only get better. They really do as you get older. I mean, I'm a grizzly 44-year-old man now, and I've never been more enthusiastic about golf, whether it be tech, touring, just all these little nuances of the game here. It is the best game in the world, and we all know.
JDV, thanks for your time.
Wait, before you go on, to play us out, I've got to read that handicap app review just because it's so good. So I'll plow through it.
Okay.
The new HNA... Yeah, play us out. The new
Sorry.
HNA app is frankly an astonishing achievement. If the goal was to demonstrate how far backwards a supposedly modern digital service can go, it takes genuine effort to make something this unintuitive in 2026. Yet somehow the developers have not only managed it, but leaned in with enthusiasm. From the moment you open it, the experience is a masterclass in friction. Tasks that previously took seconds are now buried under layers of cluttered menus, vague icons, and endless loading spinners. The layout feels like it was designed by committee without ever being tested by an actual user. Buttons in illogical places, key features hidden, and basic navigation turned into a scavenger hunt. It's less an app and more an obstacle course. What's most frustrating is that this isn't a case of rough but promising redesign. It's objectively worse than what came before. Features that used to work smoothly are now slower or missing entirely, while new additions add complexity without adding value. It's baffling that this passed any kind of quality control, let alone was deemed ready for release. In short, the new HNA app is a textbook example of how not to improve an app. Take a functioning system, strip away usability, add instability, and ship it anyway. It's not just disappointing, it's a disgrace. I thought that was a more passionate rant than I had, and definitely more succinct.
But like at no stage unreasonable.
I can tell you, just as a parting thought from Stellenbosch, I did a pretty big survey of a lot of the fans there on a variety of things. But yeah, the HNA handicap was one of them, and did not meet a single fan who spoke highly of it at all. It was a broad consensus on how shit it is. So everyone's in your corner, JDV. Guys, if there's nothing else, let the pod end. Thank you so much.
All right, guys.
Thanks, T. Thanks, Ben.